Good evening, YouTube. My name is Amisbro. For this video, we're doing a game review, and it just so happens we're going to be doing another one of the Go games. This time, we're doing Lara Croft Go, brought to us again by Square-Enix Montreal. And this game plays a little bit differently, but not much so, than our friend Hitman Go. Hitman Go plays more on a game board setup. This one, I guess you could say in a way does, but this one is more, you put it this way, it's almost more required that you use the hint system in this game, and by the way, there's no penalty for it. Whereas in Hitman Go, if you use the hint system, you could not get a trophy. If you, and they warn you about that ahead of time, if you use the hint system here, it actually helps you find certain things that you're going to need throughout the course of the game. Those items are jewels, and each level has a specific type of jewel, and a relic. The relics are scattered in different pieces. There's also the relic, the main relic at the end of the level, if you can get to it. But what happens is there's in the levels a varied number of vases. Well, depending on if you're playing the PS Vita or the PS4 version, for the sake of discussion, I played the PS Vita version. You tap on the screen where the vase is, and it shatters. Now, in some cases, it's not a vase, or it's a very cleverly hidden vase. In some cases, it may just be a jewel that's stuck somewhere, and you have to tap on it. But here's the interesting thing about the game. If you use the hints, it will not let you die. No, literally. If you have the hints on, it's impossible for you to croak. Which unfortunately hinders you in getting certain trophies. One specific trophy actually requires that you die by use of a boulder. The idea is that you unleash a boulder and then you walk towards it and it runs you over. The trophy is called Gathering Moss. Literally, you have to commit suicide. I don't know if the trophy was available in the PS4 version, but it is in the PS Vita version at the very least. So that is something that you have to look out for if you are going for the Platinum Trophy on this game, which you might as well, because it's actually a very easy Platinum to get, especially if you use hints, and on certain occasions, don't. An example of that would be one trophy called Deja Vu, which requires you to kill an enemy 4 times. This is done in one particular level called the Cave of Fire, where what we'll call Firestone enemies show up, and if you are lucky enough to kill one of those enemies 4 times, congratulations, you got your trophy. Have a nice day. And trust me, that trophy is not that hard to get once you understand how you're supposed to get it. There are, I believe it's 7 levels. 5 levels in the main game, 2 DLC levels. This is a definitive version, so the DLC levels are included. The DLC levels are, I believe it's the Cave of Fire, and the Maze of Spirits, which is arguably my favorite level in any video game ever because of its mechanic, and I'll explain why. So, in this particular level, there's 2 Laras. There's regular Lara, and there's Spirit Lara. Well, what makes this level so unique is Spirit Lara is on this side of the screen, in a blue screen, and you are on the side in color, as we'll call it. Well, there are certain enemies that only Spirit Lara can kill, and there are certain enemies that only regular Lara can kill. There's also certain levers that only regular Lara can kill, and so forth. You see what I'm saying? Or levers that Lara can pull, rather. And it's a very interesting dynamic. Now, Here's the difference. When you get to the end of a particular segment, Spirit Lara disappears as if you were reaching the end of a level, while you just go about your business. You do have to be very careful, though, when you're going for the collectibles in a level, be it the gems or the fragmented relics, as opposed to the end of level relics, because they are very well hidden, and unless you have a very keen eye, or you're just playing along with a guide, you're not getting them all. You're just not, because they hid them so well. There were times I actually had to go back and get the ones that I missed, because apparently I wasn't paying attention. Oops. Or they were just that well hidden and I didn't know it. You also have to be careful, because if you quit in the middle of a level after it checkpoints you to another section, you have to start from that point. You cannot start from the beginning of the level. So there's something to think about. Let's see what else. Oh, if you play on the PS Vita, I must warn you ahead of time, there is a glitch. On one particular level, I noticed that when you use the hint system, well, first off, I noticed this. The hints will sometimes disappear and you have to reactivate the hints even if you didn't deactivate them. The hints don't carry over from segment to segment, so you do have to hit the use hint button to start them up again. That being said, in one particular level, if you use the hint system, what will happen is you will actually get stuck. Literally, stuck. And if for some reason you turn the hints off while you're stuck, you could actually potentially still get stuck on the wall and glitch through it. Or the cliff, rather, that you're hanging on. I know, because it actually happened to me during my playthrough. Now that being said, and that technical glitch aside, is it a bad game? Of course not. And like I said, my favorite level is the Maze or the Mirror of Spirits, one of the DLC levels. This is one of the few times the DLC is actually a cool thing, because, to be honest, I would love to see a Lara Croft game that uses just that mechanic straight through the whole game. Nothing else. Now here's something I will say for those of you who are interested in playing this. It will throw off your sense of control sometimes, might be thrown off a little bit. Because I've noticed when I was hitting the triangle button to try and pull on a pillar, and I had to pull backwards, or in this sometimes it wasn't even just a pillar, it would be a lever that you had to pull out. What would happen is Lara wouldn't pull on the lever. What she would do is she would either look in the other direction, she would look over here, she would look over here, she wouldn't pull the lever. It throws you off because you're so used in your natural state of pressing up, down, left, or right, left. I have to remember that I'm mirrored a little bit here. And that can throw you off completely. Especially when you're trying to move up, down, and so forth. Now you would think someone like me, who's played the old FIFA games from back in the day, would be used to this. And I should be. But for whatever reason, sometimes the controls weren't working the way I felt they should have. I sometimes had to hit the triangle button along with the joystick at least, no joke, 5 to 6 times minimum to get Lara to actually pull on the lever or to pull back the pillar. And that can be very aggravating, especially if, for sake of discussion, you're trying to speedrun a level. Those types of glitches can unnerve somebody. Now, if you know, like I said, if you know a level backwards and forwards, A, you don't need the hints, but B, you may be able to overcome that. No big deal. But something like this needs to be looked at in the future, especially if you're going to make a game with that kind of perspective again. because what ends up happening is, since it throws off your sense of perspective a little bit, not only are you having to really keep an eye out for where the vases are hidden on the playing field, but you have to try and compensate for how you would naturally pull the joystick back, because you have to use the joystick, you can't use the D-pad, as opposed to the way you would normally do it. So you would, instead of pulling down, say you have to pull to the right, what you would do is you would have to go like this. Whoops, like that. There you go. This is to the left. And it can be a bit frustrating, because even if you hit the button, right, Laura may not pull on it, and she may look in the direction that you were trying to, in the direction that you were pointing at. Do you see what I'm saying? It's weird. Like, sometimes it worked if I held the button down, sometimes it worked if I hit them at the same time. It was never a how do you say it, a given which one was going to work. Like I said, sometimes I could hold the button down and then pull it back, and she would pull it accordingly. Pushing, she was fine. It was when you have to pull on something that sometimes she would give me this problem, and that was a bit of an issue. But then again, I don't know whether to blame that on myself or the way the perspective of the game board was. Now, yes, I understand fully this is a mobile game being ported over to the Vita and the PS4. However, things like this need to be compensated for, because if your natural state of being is to look up, down, left, or right, and you're used to pulling in those directions, then something like this could very well make you just want to rip your hair out and not get anything accomplished. In this game, there are collectibles, unlike our friend Agent 47 and Hitman. Man, well, you could kind of, I guess, argue that the suitcases were collectibles, but those were actually markers that you needed to make in order to get 3 points. Here, the vases are your collectibles, and that's actually a trophy if you can smash them all, because not only do you do that, but you also get all the gemstones and all the relics before you get to the end of the level. Like I said, though, I enjoyed the game. Outside of that minor glitch that I found, my favorite level, the Mirror of Spirits or the Maze of Spirits, that, for me, that overruled that and overwrote that completely. Because, let me explain something to you, friends. That level is, like I said again, one of my all-time favorites. And if you have not played Lara Croft Go, and you have not played this level, I implore you, my friends, to go play it. But don't play it, don't let that be the first level you play. Play through all the other levels so you get an idea how Lara moves in this new world, and how you're supposed to be able to find different items in the game. Because you're going to need that in order to be able to survive. And trust me, friends, it can be an easy platinum, but it can also be a frustrating platinum, all depending on how things go for you. But that's for you to figure out. Anyway, like I said, I do suggest you get the game. I believe it is around $6 or $7 on the PSN store, and I believe Hitman Go is about $8. So please go get those games. They are a lot of fun to get. And they're really just fun little quirky games, and I think I heard that Deus Ex might be getting one. Hey, cool! If it has a platinum, another easy plat. What can you say, right? In case anybody's curious, that game was my 11th platinum. My 10th was a little game called Hitman. Hitman Go, Definitive Edition. The game I reviewed 2 nights ago. So, with that being said, you all have a great evening, and I will talk to you in the next video, my friends. Take care.